is you're going to be able to find great talent at affordable rates. They're some of the hardest workers you will ever find. So this is the secret sauce. What we do is we have a multi-tiered vetting process. There's psychology behind this. One of my favorites for finding remote talent is... So to give you some context on this, I get asked very often, hey Daniel, who do I need to hire? Where do I go to find low cost, and specifically around marketing or more admin related tasks? And one of the bigger questions I get asked is, hey, if I'm hiring a VA, how do I make sure they don't overcharge me, right? Or how do I make sure that they're doing the work? And so, this conversation is going to be around three different parts. The outcome is you're going to be able to find great talent at affordable rates that will stick around long term. So this conversation is going to go in three parts, and the first part is what we need. The second part is where to find them, and finally how to vet them. Now, what I'm not going to do is go into the intricacies of HR and onboarding and even managing, right? There's nuances to that. It's different for every business, and quite frankly, I'm not you, and I'm also not HR. But from my experience and everything I've gathered and learned over the years through my own experience, my mentors, books I've read, podcasts I've listened to, and everything in between, we're going to cover that. So before we dive into the tactics, I want to talk high level, because I think about the delegation process as the final act. So what I mean by that is I think about it like eliminate, automate, and delegate. And the first thing you should do is figure out, can we eliminate that? Is that even necessary in the business? If we eliminate it, will it have a detrimental effect on the business internally or externally, customer or client facing? So if we can eliminate it, great. We just saved ourselves some time or money. Second thing, if we can't eliminate it, the second thing is automate. Can we automate it? There's so many tools out there, software, technology, programs that can automate the heck out of most everything. And if we can automate it, wonderful. But if we can't, then now it comes time to delegation. Delegate it to someone else. Human capital, labor, whatever you want to call it, right? For me, I call them team members. That's going to be the blanket term we use today. And we'll dive into that later. So the very first thing we need to figure out is what we need. What do we need? And this is for people out there who, in the back of their mind, you're thinking, okay, I know I need to get some things off my plate. Maybe I'm at capacity, or maybe a certain team member is at capacity. We need to get some things off of our plate or their plate, whatever it is. So what do we need? And the best way that I do this, and I help other people do this, is very logically. I time track. I track my time. And you may be thinking, Daniel, I'm not an hourly worker. I don't need to track diddly squat. And I'm like, whoa. All right. First of all, it's very important to figure out what you're doing each week, each month, each quarter, because time slips away from us. We all know that. We're very busy people, and time slips away from us. And you may get to Friday and be like, hey, man, I don't even know what I did on Tuesday. And so, in my opinion, it's very important to track your time. So, for me, this is my opinion and in my experience. I used to do it in a spreadsheet. That was ridiculously taxing on my time. So now I use a program called Toggl, Toggl. Best part is it's free. There are paid plans. I'm not affiliated with them, but I love the program. I've been using it for years. Toggl is where I track my time. And the reasoning behind this is because there's different buckets, monetary values, buckets of activities that we do or our team members do throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month, the quarter, the year. And so, for example, when I am filing my emails, or I am scheduling an appointment with somebody, or maybe I'm creating a series of simple tasks in my to-do program, then I consider that lower cost, more administrative, more menial work. Now, not to say it isn't important, but it's only worth about $1 to $15 an hour for me. But on the flip side, if I'm going out there and I'm working with strategic partners, or finding joint venture partners, or securing funding, working with banks or investors, or creating business plans, even maybe hosting an event, putting on a webinar, heck, even recording a video or an audio, then that is highly valuable activities that I do from the very top. And so for me, I consider those priceless. But if we assign a monetary value, then we can say it's $250 an hour and up. And so you have in the middle the, hey, it's technical support, or it's doing my taxes or bookkeeping, or, creating graphic designs, or putting together an advertisement, or editing videos, or so you see where I'm going with this. That's the more middle ground. So that stuff worth between $15 an hour all the way up to about, I guess we could just say, all the way up to about $200-ish an hour. Mainly falling in between that, $20 to $50 an hour range. So there's different buckets. No need to overcomplicate it. I just have 3 buckets. Is it low, medium, or high value activities? And instead of me thinking back, okay, this week, man, I did a webinar, and then, oh shoot, I forgot that I filed my emails for 20 hours this week. And so when we track our time, I just have the toggle window pulled up in a tab. I pin the tab over in Chrome, and every now and then I just flip back to that tab and say, okay, from 9 to 10 a.m. I checked my email, and then from 10 to 11 a.m. I was on a webinar, I created content, or I wrote a blog, or I filed my taxes, and so eventually over time, this doesn't happen overnight. Don't do it for 1 week and then say, oh man, I got it, I know exactly what I need. But over time, you'll get a crystal clear picture of exactly what you need. And so whether it's you doing this or a team member doing this, it's a very logical approach to, hey, what do I need? How do I eliminate, automate, and delegate? In that order. So once you have a good sample size of time tracked, whether it's you or a team member that does it, then you can look at it and say, okay, so I'm spending most of my time responding to emails, or filing emails, or scheduling appointments. Okay, awesome. That's low monetary value activities. So I need a virtual assistant, a VA. You've probably heard that term before. Simply put, it's somebody who works remote that assists you in certain administrative or more menial activities. A virtual assistant. Pretty straightforward, right? Normally you're going to find them overseas, but they can be based in the US. We'll get into all that in a second. So what we need, just to recap on that, you're going to track your time, you're going to figure out what you need. But if you're sitting there saying, Daniel, I know what I need. It's a graphic designer. I know it. I've been needing it for months now. Well, okay, cool, man. Skip all that. You know what you need. So what do we need? Once you figure out what you need, you'll be able to create a simple job application or a job post. We'll get into the platform in a second, but you'll be able to create a simple job post for this role. Hey, I'm looking for a insert adjective. For me, I love the words passionate, eager, devoted. And at Be Known, our core tenets are passionate, authentic, intentional, and devoted. PAID. Paid. Oh, because team members want to be paid. So Don't overthink the job post. There's 1,000,004 different examples out there. Google search is going to be your best friend, and ChatGPT will be a great friend to you as well. So create a simple job post, and then where do we find them? Daniel, okay, I got it. Where do I go out there? Do I post? Do I put flyers around my neighborhood? No, no, folks. It's not 2002. We have tons of platforms out there, but one of my favorites for finding remote talent is Upwork. UPWORK.com. Upwork. And Upwork is a platform where contractors or freelancers, gig workers, all create profiles, and people, companies, business owners post looking for them. Hey, I need so-and-so to do XYZ activity. It's going to take shorter than a month. It's going to take 3 to 6 months. It's going to take more than a year to do. I want you on long term, but I want to hire you as a contractor instead of a W-2 employee. So Upwork is my favorite place for finding remote talent of all sorts. A $2 an hour person all the way up to a $250 an hour consultant and everything in between. So Upwork is very simple to navigate. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but it will literally walk you through creating your job post, all the different settings, and then publish. You just check back 24 hours later and see the proposals that you got. You can invite people to the job, etc. So some of the things that I do on my job posts are I make sure that they're fluent in English. I make sure that they have a 90% plus score or rating. And I make sure that they have made at least $100, sometimes $1,000 or more from the platform. That weeds out the complete newbies. There's a time and a place for new people, but right now you are hiring for experience. And one of my mentors says, hire for experience, not potential. That is when we're staying lean, when we don't have a massive budget, let's say double the person's salary to throw at something. If you do, cool. You know, you probably are not listening to this, but if you have a massive budget to hire, you're probably already working with a headhunter or another agency placement service using Indeed. We'll get into that in a second. But hire for experience, not potential. There's a time and a place for potential. There's a time and a place to hire your cousin's brother or your sister's nephew or whatever, right? Sister's nephew, that would be your children. Anyway, time and a place for that. But this is not for that. Hire for experience, not potential. You want somebody who can come in and make waves without massive micromanagement, and somebody who is worth the rate you pay. If you have any questions about that, just ask. So going back to Upwork, Upwork.com is my favorite place for finding remote talent, and you get a lot of proposals coming in based on the job post. If it's something super niche or super specific, you may not get a ton, but you can always search and invite people. If it's something as broad as, hey, I need a virtual assistant, oh man, you're probably going to get 50 plus applicants. So just do your due diligence. We'll talk about how to vet them in a second, but do your due diligence. Just work slowly through the platform. It'll help you. It'll help you create the job post and help you find people. So let's say you're on the other side of the coin and you don't want to go out there and find outsourced overseas remote talent. Well, there's a platform called Indeed. The big one in the past was Monster.com. Now it's Indeed. I love Indeed. Even local talent. It can still be remote. I've had job posts out there on Indeed.com that's, hey, I'm looking for somebody remote to fill this specific position, and I get hundreds of applicants within the first couple days. It's just the sign of the times. People love working remote. And here's a little pro tip for you. Hiring someone remote means that they don't have to commute. They have a better quality of life. They can work wherever, sometimes whenever, it depends on the position, but wherever they want, and they don't feel constricted and constrained. So that team member is not, oh, I don't have to commute to the office. I don't have to sit under in a cubicle under the lights, etc. And so it provides a better quality of life. And so I say that because most times you can offer a little lower rate than they normally would get in a in-office, come to the office 9 to 5, sit in a cubicle type of situation. So just take that to heart.
Hey, Daniel Pope here. Real quick, I want to give you a huge thanks for listening. If you're enjoying it, I'd love it if you share with others. That's how I get the word out, by you sharing it with somebody that could really benefit from this. Now, I started this podcast to stand out above the noise, to give real growth tactics in a crazy world when others may give some misinformation or not cover everything you need to know. That's not my MO. My MO is being able to give back, being able to help others see what they actually need to do in order to grow. And that's why personally, my company, Be Known, we don't offer any courses or coaching programs. We're a done-for-you service provider because we know in this world, sometimes people just need a helping hand, a connected team, and an expert to be there every step of the way. So again, I really appreciate you listening, and talk to you soon.
Now, I do want to briefly touch on the benefits of hiring overseas. I have hired many, many, many people from overseas. Some have worked out really well, some have not, and everything in between. The most common rebuttal to, hey, I need to hire this person, I need to yada yada. Okay, hire overseas, you'll get a lower rate, better quality of work. The biggest rebuttal I get to that is, man, I just don't feel good about, finding, I'm paying them what, $2 an hour, $5 an hour? And so I say to that, $5 an hour to us is nothing. I wouldn't do anything for $5 an hour. That's lower than minimum wage. But $5 an hour to people over in the Philippines, for example, that's one of the best countries to hire for remote talent. $5 an hour to them is like making $20, $25, $50 an hour to us. And so that usually shuts down the conversation of, hey, I just don't feel good about paying them that little. And there's a lot of resources out there that you can look on it, just cost of living. If you type that into Google search, cost of living in the Philippines. So you'll see that for just on average, a family of 4 in the Philippines, it usually takes about $2,000 for them to live comfortably. On the flip side, over in the US, what does it take now? $6,000? Depends on when you're listening to this, but a family of 4, people are hungry. I love to eat. And so I remember we were a family of 5 growing up, and Lord knows how much that took. Anyway, so the other rebuttal I get to hiring overseas is, hey, I don't know if they're going to be doing the best quality work. I don't know if I can trust them to do the work. Well, what I say to that is, overseas, especially in the Philippines, their culture, the way that they are raised up is to do quality work. And I don't want to sit here and talk for, I'm not into geopolitics, and I'm not your political advisor here. But I do know, after vetting and hiring and managing dozens upon dozens of overseas workers, that they're some of the hardest workers you will ever find. They're some of the most attentive and competent and honest, and they fit the criteria. Passionate, authentic, intentional, and devoted. They fit that criteria for me. And for that, that's my experience. So it also goes back to how to vet them. So we talked about where to find them. I love Upwork for remote talent. You can use Indeed if you're trying to hire in-house. Just do your due diligence there. The platforms will walk you through everything. But how do we vet them? This is the most important piece. Now that you have 12, 24, 50, 100, 250 applicants, how do you vet them? So this is the secret sauce. What we do is we have a multi-tiered vetting process, and there's psychology behind this. If somebody is willing to quote unquote jump through the hoops for this position, then I know that they're willing to be someone who's passionate, authentic, intentional, and devoted. And so what we do is we start with combing through the applicants like you normally do and weeding out any of the quote unquote losers, right? Hey, you don't fit the bill. Okay, archive you, thumbs down you. So whatever the platform does, right? You just weed out the obvious losers. So cool. Now you're left with, out of 200 applicants, you're left with 50. Okay, great. We got 50. I only need to hire one. So what's next, Daniel? Well, I create a simple assessment. Now, I say simple because it simply walks them through the different areas of their skill set, their experience, their process, their mindset, and even the way that they want to be treated. That is important. I end it with the way they want to be treated because it makes sure that they know that we care. And there's psychology woven into all this, but I make sure to ask them questions about how they want to be treated. So the job assessment is going to be different for each position. One of the best resources I've found lately is using ChatGPT. Hey, I am the CEO of a insert company here. Give context. I'm looking for somebody to do XYZ. Give context. Give bullet points. Heck, plug in the job post. And so use ChatGPT to then say, create an assessment that covers skill set, experience, their process, their mindset. And it'll pop out questions. And all you have to do is plug it into a form program like Google Forms if you want to go free, Typeform if you want to go paid, or even Jotform. There's a lot of different resources out there. So use technology, leverage technology to be your friend here. All right, how to vet them. So we talked through the job assessment, and I alluded to earlier the final area of questions that show you care. So when I'm asking these questions, this is around what would it take to make this position the best for you? What is your remote working style? Why do you consider yourself a rock star? What times do you want to be available? And so you're going to get a lot of different answers to this through different applicants, and you find the ones that resonate the best with you. So you're not necessarily saying, oh, they're going to set their own schedule, stuff like that. Well, if it's a contractor, 1099, that's another conversation. But you're giving them a way to think, okay, yeah, this is great. I'm able to say when I am able to work. And on your side, you just pick the best candidate. So the job assessment, going through skills, process, their mindset, and even how they want to be treated, is a superb qualifier that we use to be able to weed out the candidates. So we weeded out the obvious no's, the obvious losers in the beginning, right? The people who you do not want to have in your company. And then use the job assessment to be able to get a very granular view of what are their skills, their competencies, their mindset around this, and how they want to be treated. And there's a specific question in that last little bit. You might have picked up on it a second ago, but what do they need to make this position the best? And in that, you can say, what do you need compensation-wise? Now, if you're using a platform like Upwork, you're going to have hourly rates that they set, but you want to get a thought for what do you want wage-wise, compensation, hourly rate-wise? And so if it fits the bill, great. You may have a rock star candidate, but they come in and they say, I need to be making $5,000 a month. And you're like, well, my budget is $3,000. So how do we set up, if they're the one you're going to hire, how do we set up a probationary or a runway or a ramp up period to get there? Many times I've come in a couple thousand less than what they've asked for, and it's been 100% okay, because I've created a plan to get them there after 6 months or 12 months. And more often than not, they're very okay with it. So once you've whittled it down to, let's say, the top 10 people, then now it's time for the fun stuff. This is when you hop on an initial chat with them. And all you do is you reach out and you say, love what you put down. I would love to talk further about this. Schedule a Zoom video call with me. Video is important. You want to see their living situation or their working situation to make sure that they don't have a bunch of dogs barking or kids crying all the time, stuff like that, right? You want to make sure that if they're in a professional, stable environment, and that they can also hold their own on the call. Now, you're not trying to see if they, oh my gosh, they stuttered over one word. They said a couple times. Heck, I do that. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to find, are they in a stable environment? Are they able to meet? Are they able to show up on time? Are they able to have a normal conversation like a normal human being and just talk through what they're thinking and answers to your questions? So this initial conversation is nothing more than a chance to get to feel them out in the beginning, get to know them, get to see, hey, is this person worth the salt? Are they showing up on time? Do they kind of, okay, great. And so it's pretty low pressure. You're not over there, in 60 seconds, how many uses of a brick can you think of? No, none of that goofy nonsense. This is an initial conversation. And then if they pass the test, let's say 7 out of 10 did, then you can say at the end of the call, wonderful. I would love it if you can connect me with around 3 references that I can talk to just to, I like to do my due diligence just as much as you like to do yours. So whatever wording you want to use there, but I would like you to connect me with about 3 references that I can talk with. That's important. I've had many people who just don't do this. They're obviously out. The people that are proactive and do it within the next hour or even the next 24 hours, that's kind of the limit for it. Cool, on to the next step. But if they take 2 or more days for it, meh. If they just don't do it, meh. So you see where I'm going with that. Okay, now on to the references. They're going to probably email the people in a group chat, or they'll send you a list of names. If they send you a list of names, then you can reply back, hey, I'd love it if you could connect us in a 3-way group chat or a 3-way group email. If they're not comfortable with that and they give a good reason why, no problem. But you want to see how proactive they are. Disclaimer, this little bit is not as important if you're hiring for very menial work. Meaning if they just send over, if they have good reviews on Upwork, awesome. But if you're hiring for someone longer term, someone who's doing more of that middle ground activity, then this is absolutely important, the reference check part. But if you're just hiring a $5 an hour VA and they have decent review or good reviews on Upwork and, they show up decently well in the meeting, cool, it's temporary, right? Anyway. But the reference check part, this removes any of the, man, I just went with my gut. I just went with my intuition on hiring. Like, we do not, there's a book about this. It's called Who by Jeff Smart. And it talks about a voodoo hire. We do not want to use voodoo in our hires. Man, it just felt good. We want to use logic and reasoning and different steps along the way, a tiered process in order to hire and vet well. So do your reference checks. This is a simple phone call. All you're trying to do is get somebody on a very quick call, ask a few questions around, okay, were they a trustworthy person? Did they do the job well? Did you ever feel taken advantage of? Did you ever feel like, were they worth their rate? Did they produce an ROI? Just pick some simple questions, right? You're not trying to grill this person. Just be a human, be a normal human. And all you're trying to do is just, hey, great, okay, good, pass all the sniff test, wonderful. Thank you for your time. Have a great one. Here's a pro tip. If they connect you with references that are complementary to what you do or could be a potential client, this is an excellent opportunity to ethically mention your services as well. I've gotten business from reference checks before. I have no shame in that. I do it ethically. And when the need arises, they circle back and, hey, you mentioned that you do marketing or specific services around that. Yes, I do. Let's hop on another phone call. I can point you in the right direction. So after the reference checks, you will then be able to whittle it down. Let's say you had 7, after that you found 3 to 5. Okay, now it's time to make a decision. But Daniel, there's 3 to 5 left. How do I get it to 1? Well, here's my answer. You pick one. The only wrong answer is no decision. I guess the better way to say that is the only wrong decision is no decision. The only wrong answer is no decision too. But you pick. That's it. You pick, and if you have 3 to 5 left, let's say you have 3, well, you've got 2 as backup. So you got 1 person. Wonderful. You hire them, you onboard, you train, you manage, you lead from the top. Don't micromanage. You hire for experience, not potential. And if they absolutely crash and burn for, force majeure, act of God, then you've got 2 backups. So you pick one at that point, and you file the other 2 people away, and you are very nice and cordial, and you say, hey, it's just not the right time, but I will absolutely circle back when the need arises. And of course, you've probably picked up on this, but you also follow up with the people who are in the later stages of the process as well. You're kind, you're cordial, you're ethical, and, just wasn't the right time for them. No problem. You'll circle back around if the need arises, or you wish them the best of luck, or, etc. So we covered what you need, where to find them, and how you vet them. And hopefully you've gained some knowledge throughout this piece of me talking, this little recording here. If you have any questions about it at all, I am more than happy to help. You can find us at Be Known LLC if you type that into the old Google search, and you can probably find my LinkedIn profile, Daniel Pope. But otherwise, I wish you the best of luck with your elimination, automation, and delegation endeavors, and we'll talk very soon.